Which is why, again, I lean slightly more towards Yala's build, that of course has the Argent Dragon thrown in there as well. But I still just think very strong against aggro, very strong against control, and for both these players will be a boon for them in this lineup. Honestly, whoever loses the first match, I think will still be in a reasonable spot to get a win with it, especially Glory, who has the possibility to line it up into Bloodyface's more aggressive decks left over.
Quick note, I don't know how Glory manages to still look so fresh. He has been up in the same time zone as I have, around 12 midnight to now 7 or 8 a.m. It is unfair. I am jealous. But we are going to start with the Paladin mirror here. I think you were mentioning Libram Paladin as just a bring for the tournament, as Yarla's practice group was predicting, and it very much informs both these players' decisions to leave up the Soul Demon Hunter on either side. But now that we have the Paladin mirror coming up, it's potentially one less Soul DH versus Paladin match that we're going to see later on.
Another card I really like that Bloodyface has chosen to include is Allura. I think a card that's kind of gone in and out of popularity in the pure versions, or like the buff versions of Paladin. It was clearly absolutely broken. It's a little bit more contested nowadays. Still, I think a very strong inclusion in the deck because of just the potential high roll that you can hit with getting Libram with Hope. Absolutely.
The quality of this first day of school from Glory is, I want to say, average. The Dust Devil is pretty terrible in this match. It can't even contest a recruit. You don't want that big damage. You would rather have health, and it's all about taking value trades wherever you can. So he does favor the Blackjack Stunner to start off the curve. However, for Glory, he has the double Red Scale Dragon Tamers, plus the Salhead Strike. Jaw is very much spoken for in the near future, whereas Bloodyface, her curve is looking very rough until it gets to the High Abyss.
Yeah, it's looking a little... Yeah, it was looking, I should say, a little rough at the start of this game. With her finding Salet's Pride, she's able to obviously massively bolster the amount of card draw at her disposal, which is huge, because this matchup is not only about tempo and just getting those threats on the board, although that is a big part of it. Making sure that you're fighting your thing. Very, very big deal. You want to get to that end game state where you're going 10-thing at Libram, 10-thing at Libram every single turn, which is something that you're much more likely to do if you're finding Red Scale Dragon Tamers, Salet's Pride. Any of these tutor effects are absolutely massive.
Yes, it is indeed. Bloodyface here is able to rush out the Salet's Pride. It feels like a pretty bad usage of the Broom, which can be one of the best ways to come back in the matchup. High Abyss, just as a body, can challenge what Glory has presented. Could also just be the Salet's Pride without the Broom and just put together more of those cheap minions and then try and swing back with a better Broom turn in the near future.
Yeah, and I think that that's a really good recognition from Bloodyface, because you have to realize that it's not a deck that has to be ahead on tempo from the get-go. This is a little bit more a little bit more to it than the Highlander Hunter or some of the old decks that go out like very, very drastically with just a single Lord Barrow plus Broom in hand. Bloodyface can destroy any board that Glory develops at any point in the game. So it's really just about making sure that she has that reactivity, which is why I like holding onto the broomstick there rather than tempoing it out unnecessarily.
For Glory, the Pen Flinger also able to be bounced back by using Stall, and because, like you mentioned, Lord Barrow is that Glory will be thinking about not overextending too much, and the shape of his hand allows him to just curve out with a decent threat for turn 5, followed by turn 6. Both of those 4/6s, a nice shape to continually take value trades should one of them stick.
Bit of a rough spot now, though, for Bloodyface, because if she decides to clear this board now with Barov, she knows 100% for a fact that at the very least, there's going to be a Amber Watcher on the other side as a reasonable refill, and she'll be afraid, of course, of like Aldor Truthseeker coming down, any of these big minions that could really start to push against, because she wants to make sure that she has a clear turn going into turn 6 as much as possible, but it's not really necessarily that easy to maneuver that.
True. If she is feeling a bit more adventurous, maybe there's room for just Amber Watcher and Stall and try and bait Glory into extending even more and then go for the big Barrow of Clear. But if Glory is very careful, it could be that ends up taking more damage on the back because of it. But the problem with the barrel play is that she still doesn't end up ahead on board. It's not a swing, it's just a parity clear, and any redevelopment from Glory puts Bloodyface back in the same problem. So I do like that she ends up on the Amber Watcher.
Yeah, I think it's probably correct, but it's just this is the benefit of Glory's dominant early game. He is able to take value trades, keep getting himself in situations where he can play out his big threats, dictate everything. And while there are big board sweeps in the form of barrel, there's no pyromancer for Bloodyface's deck. There's no consecration either, so she really struggles to deal with these low health minions in play. Unless you want to start going pen flingers on everything, which is a lot of mana to eat up in these early turns.
Well, with the draw of the Aldor Attendant, that's a cheap minion that Bloodyface can use as the target for Hand of Adal if this is going to be at least a partial Penflinger turn. The rest of the mana, though, feels very awkward.
There's a couple of ways I'm looking at
also
this.
had that option of doing Amber Watcher last turn to go back up on the Blackjack Stunner, but I like the discipline, just making sure that he already knows that the board is threatening enough to warrant a good clear for Bloodyface with bigger threats in hand.
I think in the end, Bloodyface is pretty great. She ended up on Hammer of the Naru, because then even if you're leaving up a 3-1 on the other side, you're getting a 6-6 in play, getting a weapon in play, which is actually quite a big deal to start swinging it every single turn. Whereas I guess the big upside of this line is you get a 3-5, which is a very respectable body to fight back against this. And it does mean we're kind of entering that equilibrium that I was talking about, where neither player has run away with the game, and it's just a scramble to try and get ahead on board and make sure that you're finding that pen flinger state where you can just deliver lethal damage.
This could be the game changer, though, the fact that Glory has now picked up the Libram of Hope at the top end. He has this Aldor Truthseeker to make it even cheaper. The problem is the shape of the Aldor Librarian at the moment is kind of difficult to deal with, so maybe he even just ignores it. Just take a full turn of Libram discounts instead.
It's definitely where my head is at. With no brooms in hand, he can't pride or anything like that. Wow, he's prioritizing card draw so heavily in this game. Like even last time, we couldn't see sort of a line of getting down to Sallet's Pride. We just an Aldor Truthseeker on that turn, Amber Watcher on that turn. But again, we're just seeing more card draw turn after turn, which really speaks to the complexity of the matchup. Paladin is not just this kind of deck where you slam down your biggest minion every turn anymore. You really have to know the matchups.
Glory is, of course, aware of the Penflingers that Bloodyface has currently, both of them in hand. So he knows that the Salad's Pride and the Loot Hoarder, at the very least, can get cleaned up by those. But by virtue of just even these small 3 health minions, even though they're not that much pressure, sticking for turn after turn, because Bloodyface doesn't want to commit one of the bigger board clears onto them, Glory is already seeing this as good enough of an advantage. If he can maintain this incremental pressure, then he is winning.
Bloodyface is going to take this opportunity to swing that advantage now. This is definitely the first play I saw. And I was wondering if there was anything that he could go for with like Allura and Hand of Adal to try and hit one of the good spells. But this is just like a standard good play that you can go for it, to swing the board, start getting that advantage, and, as you think, stop that chip damage that Glory is pushing turn after turn.
Yeah, Bloodyface with the second Hammer of Naru in her hand also probably just wants to start getting through the charges, start converting that second copy that she runs for Glory only runs one into an actual board.
Well, Glory got what he supposedly wanted, which is an absolute butt ton of card draw. Now, of course, he needs to do something with it. What was the grand plan here of going with these small minions turn after turn, rather than getting these big meaty threats down? Because as far as I'm seeing it, the upshot is now behind on board quite significantly.
Yep, I think the plan was hope to have drawn one Libram of Wisdom at least by this point to start leveraging those players into actual value-based advantage. That pickup of Hammer of the Naru is very clutch, though.
Yeah, I think I probably like holding one of the brooms, but a Sailor. I know you can rush in the 6-6 here, but that doesn't feel like it's getting you that much of an advantage. There's just the other side.
I wonder if hand space ever starts to become an issue in the near future, because I think that Dust Devil is just taking up a hand space at this point. Glory cannot afford to overload himself for almost any point of the game in the near future. Okay, so Penflinger's Hand of a Doll is where my head is at, but you would have to end up giving up one flinger. I'm just trying to see a way if the 6-6 can be dealt with without having to use the attendant. I'm not sure it's worth giving up one flinger naked on the board to do that.
I think at this point, unless you expect to be winning the game sometime soon, holding on to both Penflingers is just too valuable.
It's true. Then the base level play would just be double bonk into the 6-6 and go for the Libram of Hope, but it feels really bad to use that when he has a discounter in hand. She has a discount in hand.
I have Fleur. I mean, it got a lot worse.
Not the greatest outcome for either, but he's still able to end the turn without overdrawing. Very big deal. Saves both the Penflingers, and yes, the Hand of a Doll did not stick onto the board, but the major damage source from Glory has been removed. So I think Bloodyface accomplished her primary goals for that turn for sure. And maybe that board swing is enough time to get her the advantage to play Aldor Truthseeker and then stabilize with the Libram of Hope in the future.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, kind of the problem I have overall with this game is just that neither of the players seem to be wanting to go for the highest tempo situations. And given that they've had so much card draw in the start, it doesn't feel to me like if they go for a high tempo option, they will run out of value later on down the line, or they are overcommitting. It would just be putting a big threat on line, like Glory not playing his 5-drops, having them all stranded in hand now. Maybe a little more passive of a route that I would go down for most players. Maybe I would be changing my tune if Bloodyface had gotten a stronger spell off of the Allura, but all just felt a little passive. I love.
It's true. The Amber Watchers and the Outdoor Speaker make it so that Glory's curve this turn is not perfect. I was very much tempted by Broom this turn once again, but I think what the story that both these players macro game plans is telling is that they want to hold on to all of their swing potential. Penflingers with the Libram of Wisdom is what you want to do ideally, but if you can't milk that damage, it doesn't mean that you can throw out the Arrow, Room all willy-nilly.
It is worth mentioning as well that this is a very atypical game because both players have both Libram of Wisdoms right at the bottom of their deck, which skews things massively. Can't turbo machine gunned out turn after turn. Obviously, you need to be it's his second first day at school. Looks a little bit more juicy.
Yep, that is premium. Risky Skipper alongside Lord Barov. That does not seem very fair whatsoever.
I cannot wait to read these.
I want to say that the additional discount from the generated Aldor Attendant is not actually that relevant by this point. But even just as a 1-drop, 1/3 shape is premium. So yes, that was indeed a crazy first day of school.
Well, at the end of it all, it does quite clearly indicate that Bloodyface has got a strong foothold on this board. And Glory is put upon to find an answer, which I guess he just got with Barrel in order to sweep this board. But once that goes down, that is all the notice in the world that you need to just start pushing forward with the biggest threats turn after turn from Bloodyface.
I wonder if there's room for a pyro play instead here. There's only one spell that he can go for. I was wondering if he could try and clean up the here instead. But it looks like Glory is just going to prioritize. base damage, and not very close.
It's getting there. It's definitely getting there. And I think Glory doesn't have a hard read at all on Libram with Hope Pop in hand because it's there. So he's still, I think, going for an aggressive approach if possible, just because there's a chance that it's not there. And if it isn't, he can just push for the win instantly.
This type of line is also, I think, from Glory, kind of recognizing that he doesn't have the win condition of playing for value because he hasn't hit those Librams of Wisdom. So by going all face here, it incentivizes Bloody Face to clear and still end with a big board advantage, and then Glory can use the next turn to clear, and hopefully by then, from his perspective, he's drawn into a blessing, a Libram of Wisdom.
Very quick turn though here from Bloody Face. She's just moving to dominate this board as much as possible. Anytime you can crash the behind field, what is a massive tempo swing, really starting to push for that lethal now, which is pretty important because if the board is white now, it's not all too much actually to follow up with. The second hand of the Naru is nice, but it's far from game winning.
Finally, a Libram of Wisdom is drawn for Glory here. And on top of activating Pen Flingers, I think it's relevant because Glory's big board suite was actually lacking a spell to really make things come together. There's alternatively just rushing in the Barov with the Broom, but I think Glory can accomplish a lot now this turn. The full board sweep and start getting some of those extra flings to the face. He is the first to blink with Barov, but I don't think it's a big deal because Bloody Face doesn't have that much refill in terms of tempo.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Holding on to the Wild Pyro here, I think makes sense. He still has two Libram of Justice, right, which is very, very nice. As long as he is keeping his Pen Flingers alive, and he can get the Dragon down.
Yeah, very cleanly played here. Gets the maximum amount of threats on board. Finally, Bloody Face gets her first Libram of Wisdom as well. And so it could be that she leaves up the Amber Watcher on the other side and favors instead just Hammer of Naru and puts a taunt in the way of it.
Just not quite clean in any way, no matter how you slice it. The mana just not stacking up perfectly in terms of what you want. Like, going for a tempo Libram of Justice here, I don't think is that bad.
Yeah, I like the sound of that. It protects the 6/6 Hammer of Naru best as possible, and you get to fit in one more fling. So I'm thinking, if you start with the Libram of Justice, you can double Pen Flinger the two minions and then go for the Hammer of Naru and then Blessing on the Hammer of Naru. Wow, it's a big commitment.
Very, very big commitment here. It does mean that Bloody Face, while she does have another board with the Libram of Justice, it's not necessarily quite so clean. She's running out of threats here. It's really just a race, I think, at this point, to either player trying to find that Lady Liadrin, and the onus is most certainly on Bloody Face, because Glory is going to be machine gunning with these Pen Flingers turn after turn now. I guess the only real saving grace for Bloody Face is that she has such a dominant board lead at this point. Glory is going to be struggling to even clear this off while he gets all those Pen Flingers put through.
It's true. I wonder if the Pen Flingers start hitting the 6/6 here ever. That might be crazy, but that last Amber Watcher that Bloody Face has waiting in hand is going to mess with Glory's plans. However, Glory does have the luxury of health to play with. If the Amber Watcher that it was hovering over is going to be the target for the Librams of Wisdom, though, he will be wasting a little bit of his health in the long term.
There are a couple of ways of looking at this with Glory. Could have been a Pyro plus Libram of Wisdom turn, like Pen Flingers still bounce back up into your hand, even if they're killed off by the Wild Pyro, which would have killed off the Barov and squished up a little bit more at the very least. but in the end, just putting forward the biggest threat on board that he can, whilst of course still threatening that lethal, forcing Bloodyface to find some healing, which thankfully she has in the form of Amber Watcher, if not the Libram of Hopes quite yet.
Mm-hmm. And so if Bloodyface wants to preserve the 6/6 completely, she can just go for the Barov trade plus the weapon tank and then heal back up.
True.
It's a bit scary, but she manages to fit in also Aldor Truthseeker, if that's the turn, and use the free blessing, Libram of Wisdom on the 6/6.
Oh, that's true. Such good mana utilization, isn't it? But at the same time, taking 6 damage, even if you're healing back up, you are getting so dangerously close to dying to those penflingers.
And so there's a world where the penflingers are used to deal the balance of damage after the Barov trades in the Amber Watcher instead to deal. But then I think it would involve Bloodyface using a tempo Libram of Justice anyway. Wow, looks like she's gonna ignore the 6/8 altogether. Okay, Libram of Justice instead. So I think she came to the right conclusion that if you are going to deal with the Amber Watcher, it's better to do so with the Libram of Justice instead of trading the Barov.
Looks like I'm here just in time.
Mana isn't that clean, but the amount of tempo she gets is insane from this, and Glory has already pulled the trigger on Barov. Oh, that's so clutch. That draw.
Such a big draw. The Penflinger dealt with. The taunts gotten through. These Penflingers on Glory's side can just go face, 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 demanding an answer from Bloodyface pretty much on this very next turn for her to have any chance of winning this match.
Yep. I was wondering if there was room for any cute play by, leveraging Bloodyface's own Barov to proc the Libram of Justice instead of Pyromancer, but it would involve having to expend one of your Penflingers onto the Barov. So I think it's fine to toss the Pyro anyway. The Pyro doesn't do very much when you don't have Libram of Justice to begin with.
It wasn't me.
Must move quickly.
Yep. Morphling's Face, Libram of Justice. These animations are kind of brutal. I wonder if Glory managed to get everything done.
Looks like he did in the end. I mean, he's usually pretty good on not roping out.
Yeah. Well, by the looks of things, there was one more Penflinger that could have come down last turn. Yeah, this was not it.
Not the weapon swing. Okay, well, it could have been worse. He got through the important actions. And is still repping pretty much lethal on the following turn.
Yeah,
or just
he has
off, actually.
minimum 6 damage from Penflingers next turn.
Yeah, plus
the weapon swing. It's a little bit short.
Yep, just looking for any spell, obviously, to activate the Penflinger's taunt in the way does mean that the weapon can't go through automatically, so it would have to be yet more in order to get all these weapons through. I think Bloodyface might have brought herself the opportunity to get one extra turn, one extra chance at finding that Libram of Hope to stabilize the game.
But Glory has first day of school as an out here, I think. Oh wait, no, there's a taunt in the way, so it's not quite an out just yet. But Glory has another Libram of Hope and the Lady Liadrin waiting in the deck. Oh my goodness, there she is.
Do you just jam it down straight away?
And then just go for the big turn next turn instead?
I honestly don't even know. I mean, I'm kind of at the point where you just go Dust Devil and then just play a bunch of buffs on it and hope that it can get there with all the damage.
I mean, I think it's fine to go for Penflingers and then Liadrin and then just some of the Librams of Wisdom, as long as the Penflingers end up back in hand. From Bloodyface's side, Glory is most worried about, of course, Bloodyface's own Lady Liadrin and also the second Libram of Hope. It's kind of spooky, actually, how similar the way these two players' decks were arranged in this game.
That's right. gotta be said, bloodyface, that Lady Liadrin looks much scarier because she has minions on board, the ability to attack base. She is praying to find that Lady Liadrin right now to just close out the game and go up 1-0 in this elimination match.
And even if it's not Liadrin, Libram of Hope could still give her some time to maybe put that together.
Yep, maybe.
Oh man, Glory is going all in now on the Lady Liadrin. I don't know if all of these Librams of Wisdom were supposed to end on it at the end, because now it's not going to die necessarily, and the Penflingers aren't necessarily lethal, but that looks like lethal to me.
I think that was a slightly delayed reaction on Bloodyface's cam, but when she realizes it, she does celebrate. She knows the first game has gone her way, and that was looking really rough. I mean, from right at the start of the game, it was looking incredibly favorable for Glory.
Yeah. I think maybe some optimization towards the end there was not perfectly done by Glory. I think he missed at least one extra fling, and in terms of how the draw panned out, maybe that extra damage didn't quite matter in this iteration, but there were certain types of draws that Glory could have gotten where that one damage could have given him way more percentage, and you can see from Glory's facial expression that he was just very unhappy with the way he played out his last couple turns. But on the flip side, Bloodyface was ecstatic about that top deck, and to be fair, both players were holding out the entire game to find Liadrin.
That's right. Huge victory there for Bloodyface. I will say that Glory, I think his Paladin is still in a very reasonable position up against the Highlander Hunter and I believe Demon Hunter that is left over for Bloodyface. I still think it's a couple of good matchups left over for Glory, but we'll have to see whether or not he can get those remaining wins when we come back with the remainder of this series right after this short break.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Hearthstone World Championships of 2020. I want to apologize for the technical difficulties. TJ and I are here to cover while we sort some of those things out. In the meantime, we're going to be picking up right where we left off with Bloodyface getting her first victory over Glory and her first win. Glory's still searching for his first win of the World Championships. As we did see that Paladin mirror really tightly contested. Kind of thought Luna was dead for a while, but then was able to finally get that Lady Liadrin at the very last second. That extra damage. For game number 2, she'll be turning to her Highlander Hunter and try to see if we can get that win.
Yeah, and Highlander Hunter, I feel like it is one of the most consistent decks, honestly, right now, especially with the low curve. I do like Bloodyface's version with the Trampling Rhino, even though it makes your, in early game Scavenger's Ingenuity, a little bit less consistent if you're trying to find exactly those early game beasts. I still think the late game punch that it provides is quite important. So we're going to get into things. In a lot of the testing we did in matchups where it was Libram Paladin versus Libram Paladin lineups, it felt like the Libram Paladin mirror told a lot about how the matchup was going to go overall. Now, Bloodyface and Glory's lineups are not that similar outside of that, but I do still feel like that the first game of this series gives Bloodyface a pretty big advantage.
That's right. So we'll go ahead and find out what happens in game number 2, as Glory does start off with 2 first days at school.
Move quickly.
An entire suite of, quite frankly, awkward and not very good minions. Hero Cat, of course, has been very good. It was able to pick up a really powerful minion. I think the Glory is more intent on stopping any 2 health minion that can come out from Bloodyface's side, who just picked up that Dwarven Sharpshooter. You know, normally in this spot as the Hunter, you think a lot about how quickly you can get Imprisoned Velma online. Does this potentially change the play at all?
I'm trying to think here because there's also like Coin Scavenger's Ingenuity. The only thing is, how I mentioned earlier, it's a little bit awkward with the Rhino. Otherwise, it would be like guaranteed Wolpertinger, which would have given Bloodyface an incredible turn 2 or turn 2. But just the Dwarven Sharpshooter, it's weak to Libram, right? But outside of that, there's really nothing else that can kill it unless it's a Hearthstone Spore or an Abusive Sergeant, something along those lines. So just make the most resilient play. I don't think Imprisoned Velma is worth it. I think this coin has a lot of value with both Phase Stalker and Intrepid Initiate in hand. So, oh wow,
yeah, that's totally fair. And now another really important decision to be made. These early turns are going to be crucial on both sides. More important, I believe, for Bloodyface, since Glory does have some powerful late game potential and does end up usually winning the board away from the Hunter. Hunter does have some powerful cards to be down on the board, but usually trying to end the game quickly here. Bloodyface does have the ability to stay, for example, utilize the hero power to eliminate a minion and play the Intrepid Initiate this turn. But I was also thinking about, again, how long do we want to wait for this Imprisoned Velma? So I think this is the kind of dynamic that Bloodyface you were describing, which was the fact that the secrets often are very powerful against the board-based deck because they have to trade or get to the position. And a lot of the Hunter secrets right now disrupt their minions.
You're right. And this play, I was trying to convince myself not to do it. It's the first play that I spotted, and I was thinking there's got to be something better in there. But Bloodyface realizes that if she goes for this play, there's actually a pretty reasonable Scavenger Ingenuity 50-50 into Wolpertinger next turn. Or at the very least, like Imprisoned Velma plus 1 drop if it's drawn, like depending on board state. And that rolls into Phase Stalker hero power. The curve ends up working out, even though it's 2-2 and she's using the coin, which makes the curve weird. Tracking fills in that curve. 50-50 on Wolpertinger fills in that curve. Like there's a lot of caveats to it, and I think that ultimately this play is going to be able to push the most damage over the next couple turns because Glory's shown a little bit of weakness just playing out all the 1-drops from first and second day of school.
See how unhappy Glory is to be going back to school in a row. Very relatable. Bloodyface, of course, not having the convenient access to a clean 3-mana play, as you were alluding to. But, well, you know, this is one of those things where proper decision making can end up translating to a lot of damage, or improper choice of how you build the early game could end up leading to you trading constantly and not really getting a lot of damage on the board. Trampling Rhino.
I've talked so much about how I like the Trampling Rhino version, but I feel like every time I say it, there's a crucial situation that happens in the game where a Wolpertinger drawn from the Scavenger's Ingenuity would completely blow out the game. And I feel like that's one of them. Like, she went for the play that's like, okay, if I get 2 3-3s, there's no way that a paladin can come back from like phase stalker hero power. But the one upside to this is that Bloodyface's mid game is going to be incredibly powerful. Rinling's rifle picked up, trampling Rhino as a 7/7, Zephyrus already in hand. So any opening that Glory gives, if there's any weak turn, I mean, this game's going to snowball out of control with this type of hunter hand for Bloodyface, I feel.
Right, and weak turn it is. Glory didn't have anything except the Lever of Wisdom to trade up. Now Bloodyface thinking about that Face Stalker or the Rinling's rifle. Both set up secrets, both set up a opportunity to slightly turn the tides of the board state. But Bloodyface, if he thinks Rinling's rifle, I'm not necessarily sure what kind of secrets he'd be looking for immediately. And it does kind of change a lot depending on what ends up being offered. Freezing Trap, for example, is a very weak secret currently onto the board. And there's one that could be pulled from the deck when you hero power with Face Stalker. At the same time, like Rinling's rifle, a little bit more expensive to get set up. The dynamic is definitely on Bloodyface's mind. Look at the turn for it. Plus the hero power, and I think that's just to help make sure that she's increasing the quality of her draws, put additional pressure onto Glory. If Glory ends up having an Elder True Seeker and a Libram, risk creating even more problems through cards like Pack Tactics.
And it is Pack Tactics. Pack Tactics is secrets that's pulled, so this is quite difficult. Honestly, Aldor True Seeker, and let's take a look at. There's Freezing, Pack Tactics, Snake. Oh yeah, we casted this earlier, and it's just the 3 secret. So
yeah. Still one of them through. If both of those Face Stalkers quite disastrous.
yeah, honestly, I like this play from Glory. Just dealing with one of the secrets right away, even though you're getting another secret pulled out. That Pack Tactics, the longer you ignore it, the longer it's going to come back to bite you. Either way, you're leaving a Face Stalker on the board. Either way, you're letting another secret pulled out. So this is kind of a nice little clever way.
Right.
Now, Bloodyface does have the 7/7 Trampling Rhino. So she just play that, forego the secret usage, take great control of the board, push another 3 damage. Again, this is where kind of this more powerful mid-game package comes in, where...
Right.
Bloodyface just has all the options in the world and some of the most powerful cards in her hand already.
Yeah. Glory has to use most powerful removal options in the form of the Lord Barov. And if Glory, wants to Penflinger again, he's going to be floating another Mana Crystal, which is really annoying. He did get some information that Bloodyface, wasn't really in a rush to hero power, so maybe he feels like he could get away with not having to pen fling and instead could develop a little bit more onto the board here. But I'm still feeling like you want to deal with the Space Stalker. Just reduce the options of the Hunter to not let them play slow.
Wasn't me.
Yeah.
He wants to capitalize and get, cards like his dragons in his hand. But I think this makes a lot of sense to me.
All right, let's get rid of this Penflinger. That's pretty pesky. And looking for something to disrupt here.
Pressure plate is pretty nasty against a lot of what Paladin likes to be doing. But Freezing Trap's also really... Freezing Trap gives put another opportunity than Lord Barov. In the late stage of the game, Lord Barov at 5 is still very playable.
Very, yeah. All you need is a broomstick alongside of it. It's a full board clear. That's 6 mana. Yeah. I'll take that any day. Pressure play, yes, is incredibly good, especially against Libram of Hope. They get a however many mana heal, and that's it. The minion gets sniped, but Lord Barov is here. Because of that, I kind of feel like Glory can afford to just go Wrapped Golem here. What's the punish? Well, you test for the secret first. It's Riling's Rifle. Could be anything. All right. No freezing, no misdirect, no explosive. Wrapped Golem, let's see. Sure, if it's Snipe, yeah, 7-1 with Reborn, I'll take it. Pressure Plate, doesn't matter, not playing a spell. This is good. Yeah. I like this a lot.
It's inconvenient. That 1-1 potentially could be disruptive to Bloodyface's plans. Bloodyface finds Lorekeeper Pokel, which will place the most expensive cards on the top and rearranges so that Bloodyface knows exactly what will be drawn next, as will Glory. That would give her Dino Tamer Brand and then Dragon Bane on the following turn. But is it time to start kind of giving yourself that inevitability? Sometimes when you feel like as a hunter, you really do that if you either one, just know that it's like the correct play because you usually actually up your hand so you don't actually have that many options. But then you also give Glory opportunity play around the hand because he knows exactly what you're going to be drawing as well. Usually it's pretty good though in the hunter, just kind of jam fire. Oh, all right, cover. That's damage.
Yeah, I've been trying to think this whole time if there's some crazy fancy Zephyrus usage, and I couldn't find it.
I mean, you mean for this turn?
For that turn, yeah.
For this turn, I don't think so.
Yeah, but oh well, it's in the past now. So now with Lorekeeper Polecat Blade, there's kind of one thing to do here, and that's go face and hope that there's not too much healing along the way. So
back ordering, trying to activate beforehand. Very smart from Glory.
Yeah, this is good, solid.
Well, can even attach another Libram. Should he do something? Bloodyface does have the Dino Tamer Brand coming in next turn. And Glory knows that even if Bloodyface already has it in hand, he can head for a couple of Dragon Bane. And this is good against
Okay.
Why it would be better on the Wrapped Golem, but I mean, as long as we played it, I think is what I wanted.
Yep. Yeah. So looking like Shadowward Ruin with Zephyrus and just give up your board here is probably the play that I'm looking at from Bloodyface's perspective. She can also fit in a hero power. You can even manipulate it in hero power first. Is there anything at 6 that makes sense? Black Knight just to push 4? You'd push 4 anyway.
Right, that makes sense. Shadowward Ruin does allow you to hero power, like you said. Black Knight puts a 4/5 onto the board, which is kind of nice as well. And your opponent already used Lord Barov, so they have fewer removal tools, and you get to keep your off. Ooh, I like this actually. Playing a bigger wide board, so that way Glory has to use either finding a way to clear a lot of this, or just playing Libram Pope.
Yes, that's the benefit of not manipulating for the Shadowward Ruin. You also get to see a little bit more options. Maybe you miss something that you weren't thinking of. Black Knight's better or something along those lines. The flexibility of being able to do this actually ends up working out. And Glory, again, like you mentioned, knows the Dino Tamer brand is there, so gets to try and build as Brazilian of a board against that as possible. And going for a 9/11 seems like the best play with taunts. That means a Dino Tamer Brand has to go through plus the Zephyrus. Bloodyface still pushes 10 though in that instance. That's a lot.
Right.
But there's a Libram of Hope to follow it up, and I think that's the kicker here for Glory is that, hey, throw all your resources into this. And then, actually, wait. All the minions on the board is 11 attack.
Right. So you can actually just keep the King Crush around.
But what's better?
Right. Is it better to go wider, or is it better to go taller? And against Paladin, it's kind of tricky since they do tend to play a lot of big, tall minions. And so, in the case of Glory, he's going to have back on top of the you could argue that, bloodyface has more opportunities to buff a wide board. I think they've already been used, though. Demon Companion's on the board, Animal Companion using it cover. Oh, I suppose the cards like Wriggling Horror gets better.
Okay.
He knows that his next card is likely to be some kind of damage in the form of Kill Command and Eagle Horn. He has Inconspicuous Rider, though, as well.
Yeah, there's a lot to get through, though.
He is all in at this point.
Just throw in the Libram of Justice. It doesn't matter. Going into a 9/9 taunt. Okay.
So you can bump in one of the Wolfentingers first, and then Dragonbane Hero Power, and then evaluate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you want to use Kill Command before you see your Dragon.
Nah, I don't think so. Because you're not kill commanding one of these small 3 health minions, right? Oh.
Not the best.
Yikes.
Yeah, especially because you know about the lead remain. So if you choose to push all that damage, then Dragonbane's going to go down. Kill Command being used. This is looking more like Glory's going to be able to just barely survive the aggression coming after bloodyface.
Yeah, and maybe even not so barely, right? Because these Dragon Tamers are going to pull the Amber Watchers out, which is even more healing. So,
healing.
Yeah, it was close until it wasn't. Because now Glory is effectively going to, go up to almost max life. No Zephyrus, no Dino Tamer Bran. Every card off the top is a known entity for bloodyface. Because of the Lore Keeper Polkelt that was picked up, there's just nothing.
Inconspicuous Rider, lead one of the last 3 mana cards. So I'm pretty good in the deck as well. So Bloodyface's next draw, guaranteed at this point, and Glory finds the other Amber Watcher naturally. Okay. So Dragon Tamer doesn't get it.
No.
Yeah, with the Freezing Trap, all but certainly has guaranteed that Glory is past the wood. So that's going to be game number 2 to tie things up. Both Paladins getting that quick win. Out of near.
Looks like I'm here just in time.
Yeah, evens it up. And now we're down to sort of the unique decks in the matchup, which would be since Bloodyface had the Shaman band away and Glory had the Warrior band away. Yeah, that's correct. Sorry, we didn't cast the beginning of this match, so I'm just double checking my my knowledge here. It means the decks that are left in the series are actually no. Both players have Demon Hunter left because of these bans. So it's Demon Hunter Rogue versus Demon Hunter Hunter from Bloodyface's perspective.
That is correct. And both Demon Hunters being up is definitely one of the more interesting games that we've seen at the time, given that Demon Hunter has been a class that many people are pegging as just being so overwhelmingly dominant that you feel like you have to put it on permanent status. Some people are choosing that. Bloodyface has the Voracious Reader, but it's way too late. So we could see that this was going to be the case. She hung in there as long as she could. Glory's going to take 2. That Paladin dub over that Hunter. Hunter's struggles seem to be continuing a little bit here. We have seen it win on broadcast, but for the most part, it seems to be a lot more manageable when players are accounting for it, understanding that aggro might be something in the metagame. They have a bunch of healing, like in the form of the Paladin deck.
Yeah, and we'll see though, because it's still left in the series, so Bloodyface still going to have to find a win with it against some tempo-ish decks, the Soul Demon Hunter plus the Secret Rogue. So not over the hump yet, but all tied up. Paladin's out of the way. We're down to our best of 3.
All right, so with that, we're going to take a brief second to check in on some things, and then when we come back, we're going to have game number 3 between Bloodyface and Glory here in the Hearthstone World Championships of 2020.
For number 5, Glory is facing Alutemu in a grueling 5-game semi-final in the Season 1 playoffs. With double Savage Roar in hand, Glory is very close to lethal damage, but he doesn't let the big numbers distract him and draws the remainder of his deck into Fatigue to make sure he has another wave of minions on his following turn to deal the killing blow. A great example of playing with the cards in your deck, not in your hand. Alutemu Gia came so close to getting the job done. The Ysera was burned. He did such an incredible job of killing off every single wave of minions. But at the end of it, Glory, after one of the most dominant runs out of any Grandmaster across any of the regions, is going through to the finals, Gia. And just look at the relief on this man's face. In this clip against Flurry, Glory makes a very weak turn in an incredibly tight Demon Hunter mirror where both players want to spend mana and gain tempo, but his plan to save his Frozen Shadow Weaver to cut off Flurry's options of playing Warglaves of Azzinoth or Glavebound Adept exactly on turn 5 to swing the game ends up paying off huge. Patience is a virtue, and one that Glory knows very well. In clip number 3, Glory's up against Surrender's Highlander Hunter with his Quest Warlock, a matchup where life total is one of the most fickle resources Glory has at his disposal. Despite this, Glory decides to life tap further into range of potential Surrender lethals, and despite a scary face attack from the imprisoned Felmore and a clutch dodge on the Dragonbane, Glory ends up drawing Plot Twist right on time, which completes his quest and leads to a narrow victory. That one life tap made all the difference.
That is game. Glory equalizes it in the unfavorable.
In clip 2, Glory and Surrender are battling in a Game 5 for all the marbles in the Season 1 finals. Though the Innkeeper may remind us all that stealthed minions cannot have taunt, Glory uses a Titanic Lackey on his Skyver tier to ensure he has an even stronger and guaranteed target for Inner Rage and Bloodsworn Mercenary.
Minion with stealth cannot taunt.
Thanks, Innkeeper. Though this game was incredibly close in the end, the additional tempo and mana that this play generated were enough for Glory to deal the final blow with Gromash Hellscream and book his spot at the World Championship. Surrender does fall down, and Glory is our representative from Asia Pacific going to the World Championships later this year. In our number 1 clip, Glory is facing a difficult puzzle that Shadow Jeweler Hanar has created with a tree of various secrets. Glory decides to hold back his minions to play around the possibility of Freezing Trap, specifically for going potential cards drawn from Twilight Runner. And as we learned earlier, Glory knows the value of patience. He keeps his Twilight Runner stealthed all the way until he's able to activate Freezing Trap with Speaker Ghidra and use his Twilight Runner to deal the 5 damage he needs to win the game. Well played.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Hearthstone World Championships. Game number 3 between bloodyface and Glory about to go down, as Glory was able to win game number 2. And we will be turning soon to either the Demon Hunter or Rogue on Glory's side, or the Demon Hunter and the Hunter on bloodyface's side. Bloodyface not able to get that win with Hunter. Seems to be a deck that's been struggling today in a couple of different matchups. Do you think that's just small sample size, Hunter's actually really good, or perhaps are we going to see the beginning of a trend where Hunter's just going to struggle this weekend, TJ?
I think it depends on the lineup, right? Hunter is a very known quantity. It doesn't have every single start that it has. You could map out, right? Unlike say a deck like Evolved Shaman, where there's so many explosive turns that can happen that it's almost impossible to keep track of it. So I think at times, and it's going to sound weird, Highlander Hunter just seems too fair, I guess. But the benefit of having a deck like that is it's pretty consistent, especially a low curve Highlander Hunter like this. It's always going to apply pressure early. It's always going to have those some explosive turns, and it always has that threat of Dino Tamer Brand closing out games. It's just, can they get there when other decks are, doing potentially crazier, more powerful turns? And that's kind of the big question. I do think it's, right around that between 48 and 52% matchups. Where some of the other decks in the field are, floating between 40 and 60, so they're more volatile. And I think we're just seeing the 48 end right now.
Yep, I definitely feel like that could also be the case as well. So let's go ahead and get into the second game here, as first card's already been played. A couple of 1-3s hitting the board, and now bloodyface once more introduced that early Imprisoned Felmaw. Back-to-back games having the Dwarven Sharpshooter into Imprisoned Felmaw. See if it ends up being the choice of play here on 2. And, Glory with one of his patented decks of playing Soul Demon Hunter. It's a deck that he's climbed with very effectively on ladder. It's a deck that he also has done well with in Grandmasters. So, see if he's able to use this to get that edge against the Highlander Hunter, which is a pretty even matchup on paper based on some of that data. But we'll see if any of these specific deck lists have that edge. So far, nothing really too wild here, as bloodyface does have the ability to use his Demon Companion, and still probably looking for this Imprisoned Felmaw. You can't always hold on to these early 1-drops forever. And did not want to get bullied onto the board, and now, because she has confirmed that the board is safe to extend onto, able to
This is
play
kind of a
that,
weird opening from both players, honestly. I've expected different plays from both bloodyface and Glory.
So
on these early turns,
bloodyface only has
I feel like with this
one
low curve
minion
variation
board.
of Hunter,
Next turn,
unless you have a
Heart
very
is not really
specific
going to
game
be
plan
it.
already in
And it seems
hand,
once more bloodyface
to play a
might
little bit
risk
greedier,
fizzling
that
out
you
here in
just
the,
kind of
the mid game.
ignore
does
everything
find
that's
the Zephyrus and
happening
the
from
Pack
your
Tactics
opponent's
and the Lord
side and
Keeper
try and make the
Polkelt
biggest board
as
possible to
options.
push face.
Zephyrus, one of the most powerful cards in the
Glory
entire
also
deck,
kind of
almost
just
the
going for
entire
board
reason
presence
you would
instead
want
of
to
worrying
play
about the Dwarven
a
Sharpshooter
Highlander
on
Hunter
board.
on top of the
For him,
Tamer
I think
brand.
that's actually perfectly fine, just because
I'd be very
he knows that
interested
it's
to
on
hear the
bloodyface
reasoning
to
behind
set up a
perhaps
board
skipping
that's
it.
more threatening.
The immediate thought would
he just
be
needs
that,
to kind
well, it
of
doesn't
get
actually
through his
do
deck
too much this turn.
quickly
That's the
and
reason
try and
why.
go for those big swing turns and negate some of the damage.
Quickly.
And so bloodyface goes for that kill command and immediately clears off the minion. So, bloodyface choosing to pass over the Lord Keeper Polkelt and the Pack Tactics makes a lot of sense, as Zephyrus is one of the defining cards you want to build your deck around. given that it is a Highlander deck, this and Dinotamer Brand are two of the most important cards. Otherwise, you might as well just play a 2-of deck if you're not going to include them. And then from Glory's perspective, picking up a Marrow Slicer, one of those really important key cards. He already does have the Soul Jailer shuffling in Soul Fragments into play, but a little bit awkward because his turn, he doesn't want to exactly swing with the Todrieki Warblades, but he doesn't want to do nothing either. And this is a really awkward scenario.
It might even just be, oh, geez, it's pass.
Okay. Wow.
Because Glory can so this damage doesn't necessarily matter if he just passes because theoretically he could just twin slice. That would activate the Bladed Lady and also heal back most of the damage that he would take. He can even go like twin slice, Bladed Lady, which seems insane, and that would also heal him back up for a 6 life. Clear the board, develop a 6/6, and heal. I mean, that sounds fantastic.
There's a pretty interesting opportunity for bloodyface to manipulate Zephyrus to give weapon destruction. You can use it to get a 1-mana Corsair to remove the final charge from Glory's Eldrazi Warblade.
Okay.
But you kind of want to force that, and I'm wondering if it's like Snake Trap Zephyrus into weapon destruction, or is it simply just Rinling's Rifle just to set it up because it's the most expensive and opens up plays for the following turn? One or the other, I'd say.
Yeah, we could see that the weapon destruction would be pretty brutal here for Glory, but from Bloodyface's perspective, it was just like a pass to turn. Yes, she might be expecting a swing turn, but not enough of one to where using such a key card as Zephyrus would be worthwhile.
Right.
Rinling's Rifle, like you said, more expensive. The investment, the secret could be just as disruptive from Bloodyface's perspective. So can't blame her for making this play, even though if that Corsair did come down, that would have been pretty devastating for Glory, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely what Glory wants, to go for a decisive swing like this. That's why Bloodyface even picked that Snake Trap, just to make sure to deal with a Bladed Lady if that situation arose. Dragonbane.
Ooh.
I mean, Dragonbane Hero Power looks really good in this position
Sure
to
does.
trade. And then you even have 3 minions onto the board to potentially get things like the Open the Cages secret. I guess in Bloodyface's mind, she has to also consider what Glory can do to counterplay. But with no weapon equipped, Blade Dance is going to be less likely for Glory to clear, because he also just used his Twin Slices. There's an Open the Cage.
What if she's thinking of something else?
Yeah, so Freezing Trap can stop a second Bladed Lady attempt. Pressure Plate, Pressure Plate is actually kind of fairly hard to activate, so there's a lot of potential disruption just because it forces Glory to hedge around a couple of things. But yeah, overall, it seems like right now Bloodyface just going for a very straight up play, and Glory does have the clear through the Shard Shatter Mystic and the Soul Shear. Has to kind of evaluate if that's worth it right now.
Also, keeping in mind Pressure Plate, does Glory want to get rid of the test for Pressure Plate right now by playing the minion first?
Right.
Test for Explosive Misdirection. Do it in the order so that it does not hit Pressure Plate, but what this means is that Glory doesn't know what the secret is still. It is Freezing Trap.
Okie doke. Sneaky Delinquent, great card to pair with the Wriggling Heart, so that way you can guarantee get the buffs. Now that Shard Shatter Mystic, excuse me, third time's a charm, has been played, that means that it's less likely for the Demon Hunter to be able to deal with it. However, I do feel like if you're bloodyface position, you have to think, why is Glory just not playing any of the cards on the left? Is it because of Skull Dance, or is it because of situational removal like these double blade dances in the hand?
It's hard to say. From this point, for Bloodyface, it is so hard to piece together like the most likely chance to win. Zephyr's for 5.
Okay.
Does she want to protect the freezing trap?
Yeah.
Well, she could protect the freezing trap by going with SI7 agent and then hero powering. I don't know.
Right.
From this point, I honestly have no idea. In that situation, I probably just load up a couple two drops and hero power or something. That's a very difficult situation. The mana worked out super awkwardly. But all right, so there's freezing. Still 3 soul fragments in the deck for Glory.
Yeah. Soul Shear and the Mystic again is one option. Glory could also go for Blade Dance with the Marrow Slicer and kill off everything. But just gonna take the safe route, eliminate the Temple Enforcer. I think Bloodyface didn't want the overload off the Earth Elemental is what made her choose that Temple Enforcer at the end.
It's possible, yeah.
Right.
Out of those options, I probably would have gone for SI7 agent and killed the Shard Shatter Mystic, fit in a hero power, and then you still have a freezing trap that that Glory has to test for. That plays obviously weaker to the second Shard Shatter Mystic. It's weak to Blade Dance, but I felt like both ways were weak to everything. By letting the freezing trap sit there and spreading out this health, you knew that there was going to be a second Shard Shatter Mystic, so all it would take from Glory's perspective would be to have any type of extra damage to be able to remove the board. So that's a very difficult situation. It is an incredibly awkward hand on a odd-numbered mana to utilize Zephyrus. And now this is a race, right? Bloodyface has seen the lifesteal weapon, just load up the board, play the 2s, probably Snake Trap, and actually no, just play the Intrepid Initiate because you saw Shard Shatter Mystic. Not even a hero power, okay. All in on cards.
Yeah, this, I think, once more complicates things from Glory, unless I'm mixing up my secrets with the Riddling's Rifle that was played earlier. But there's still a possibility that this could be pack tactics, if I recall correctly. And so that kind of dynamic might trip up Glory slightly with how Blade Dance could work. But Glory also just has the guaranteed clear through Marrow Slicers and the Blade Dances.
I think the pack tactics was used.
Okay. Well, then in that case,
so
Glory
pack tactics is gone. So freezing
is
trap is still in the deck. So this is either Snake or freezing from Glory's perspective.
Copy that.
But still, it makes things a little bit awkward because maybe Glory doesn't want this to pop back. And actually, you know what? It's Snake because why that Snake Trap was sitting in hand for quite a long time. So why would Bloodyface hold on to a freezing trap and then pick a freezing trap from Riddling's Rifle? You know.
Right.
So Glory can make a almost 100% accurate read that this is Snake Trap and plays accordingly. Now, obviously, he knows because he attacked base and didn't get frozen. Oh, okay. So 7, 8, 9 damage showing. Glory would need 3. Let's count if Bloodyface goes face, she can put Glory down to lowest 4. If Bloodyface trades and plays hero power, it's goes down to 5. face plus Spectral Delinquent over 2 turns. That is 15. So yeah, it's Dino Tamer brand Spectral Delinquent is the 2-turn lethal setup, but then your Glory would only need 3 damage.
Right. 3 is a little bit awkward. Demon Hunter tends to work in like intervals of 2 until they find, the Soul Shard Lapidary. But it is entirely plausible. One thing's for sure, King Crush is going face. And Glory does not have the ability to deal with this King Crush. Soul Fragments also changed the math a little bit. Or a lot. Heal for 4. Twin Slice! Oh my goodness. TJ. That is the exact card that Glory needed.
Oh yeah, you're right. For the Blade Dance. And
oh my gosh.
Oh jeez. Oh jeez.
And all the
I mean, it still wouldn't even be
fragments are
close
coming
because
in.
Glory just drew every soul fragment.
Oh my gosh, healed for 10. Oh, this is just lethal.
Is it just lethal with the double twin slice?
Yeah.
Yep, it is.
Oh
It
my
is.
goodness
Holy
gracious.
moly.
Wow.
What a
That is
game.
gonna do it. Game number 3. Oh wow. even
I
the Blade
don't
Dance.
know. Oh no. Don't rub
Glory.
it in. Come on.
Complete, utter domination over that. I wonder if Glory is shaking his head because he realized he may have opened himself up to something at the last second that we're not immediately pointing out. But very explosive finish. That Demon Hunter went from like getting pummeled on to all of a sudden turning things around and almost killing Bloodyface in 2 turns. So that was a really good demonstration of why that Demon Hunter, again, for many people, are considered to be on auto ban status for some lineups.
Yeah, once again, it was close until it wasn't. Demon Hunter once again showing just how powerful it can be. And now Glory's down to just Rogue. And I think Rogue is probably the weak point. If you look at Bloodyface's remaining decks, which are the Demon Hunter and the Hunter. Both of those can have a lot of tempo and aggression packed into one, and sometimes Rogue can't handle it. But Rogue is a little more streamlined, I feel now. With like Foxy Fraud and Swindle, you can piece together more powerful turns more consistently earlier on into the game. So you can have Big Edwin's a turn sooner. You can find those secrets for Shadow Johar a little bit faster. The deck just feels a little bit more consistent. It kind of has to because the power level of decks across the board is pretty high. So Rogue needed that to be able to compete, but I still feel like it doesn't quite have the peak power level of, for example, decks like Soul Demon Hunter, which I consider probably the best deck in the metagame. But those 14-14 Edwin Van Cleefs on turn 3, those will win just about anything.
Very much so. Now it's Bloodyface's turn to go ahead and jam that Demon Hunter, and it's exactly the setup that we were kind of talking about, where Demon Hunters might just get their win. Paladins just might get their win. It comes down to Rogue versus Hunter. The difference in unique decks could potentially be what ends up separating it. But that's a hurdle that first has to be cleared, assuming that Glory's Rogue is able to, or rather, Bloodyface is able to defeat Glory's Rogue. And we're going to go into game number 4. Glory starts off with actually quite a handful of potential. When you have Questing Adventure and Foxy Fraud and Preparation, like these are some really powerful combinations, but they also don't really go together. So you usually choose one side or the other. In this case, Glory is going to go ahead and ditch the right side and instead get Edwin Van Cleef with Foxy
Glory.
Fraud. Oh my goodness. TJ, this could be a quick game number 4.
Bloodyface needs Consume Magic.
Yes.
Yesterday.
Yes.
This is
turn 2.
Oh
I mean,
jeez.
Turn 2 is going to be quite insane.
Oh man.
And there's Dirty Tricks. That's even better than the Eviscerate because that gives Glory the opportunity to refill the hand in the event this Van Cleave situation goes wrong. Yeah.
So, and also, I've seen people mess up the combo too. They go like Foxy Fraud, Prep, Eviscerate, and then their Edwin all of a sudden costs 3 again.
Yes, I have seen that. And
so, Eviscerate's not the
wow.
ideal, but Dirty Tricks is the ideal. So, there's the 10-10.
Okay. That Blade Dance might actually be really nice because bloodyface doesn't have myth mana to do everything next turn. I was thinking about like preemptively striking the Edwin, putting it down to 6 life, then trying to find a way to clear it. But this looks tough still. And from bloodyface's perspective, how does she deal with it? Adraki Warblades pass and hope that you can try to kill it next turn.
Aldraki Warblades hit the Edwin. Next turn, Twin Slice Relentless Pursuit hit the Edwin.
Oh gosh.
So you take 10, go to 22, and then take 13, and go down to 9. But then you'd go back up to 17. Oh.
Okay, but the good news. Oh wow! Oh my goodness! Glory just picked up Swindle.
Oh, you did the 2-drop.
He did the TJ Sanders.
Ah! The 2-drop means that the Edwin is now protected from Blade Dance. I honestly think that bloodyface should have gone for the Aldraki Warblades hit.
Oh no! Bloodyface just needed the one consume magic just to silence the Edwin. There's still a chance. It's the mana feeder Panthara, but if not, that is death on the spot. So bloodyface has to go for this Blade Dance and hope that she hits Edwin Van Cleave. Or she can still go for the Relentless Pursuit as you were talking about.
Relentless Pursuit doesn't work. Well,
I mean, it does. It doesn't clear it off effectively.
Yeah, I think at this point, she has to go Blade Dance and...
Blade Dance and what?
And hope that it hits the Edwin.
Yeah,
and then kill the Edwin with the Warblades.
Okay. Hits the Edwin. Does not clear off the Foxy Fraud, so extra minions stay on the board. Glory has 9 damage to the Eviscerate, 10 to the dagger. Secret Passage.
Huh. What's he looking for?
More damage? This was a very peculiar Secret Passage.
He had damage, card draw in his hand already.
Okay. No. So I think what he was searching for was damage to potentially follow up with. I don't know. It doesn't really make a lot of sense based off what he hit there. I'm looking at his deck list. Maybe he wanted some secrets to really combine with the board state. You know, maybe he wanted to find more card draw like Dirty Tricks. Maybe you want to find another Swindle. Maybe you want to find Evil Miscreant to get a little bit extra resources. But either way, that did not end up being a good turn. Was that the window of opportunity that bloodyface needed to climb back into this game?
It's possible, but there's a lot of work still left to do because bloodyface now has to use these resources to like gain health instead of use these resources to further the game plan. Although the game plan against Rogue is oftentimes to just kind of at a certain point ignore their stuff and smack them, and this does give bloodyface the excuse to just smack. Relentless Pursuit, second slice, twin slice. That's a 10 health heal. 10 health swing would put bloodyface back up to 16 and Glory down to 18. The question is where does bloodyface go from there? The skull would not be outcast. There'd still be a second slice. There'd still be the card off the top. There's no soul fragment for the soul shard lapidary. But I honestly just think that this lifesteal, it's going to go away, so you might as well just cash in while you can.
Yeah, gotta go for maximum damage in terms of healing yourself back up, and hope that the long-term game you can be able to get there. Again, I'm still a little bit unsure of how exactly Glory chooses to go about this turn. If he is committed to the line of finding resources to play and support the board, he's going to maybe be thinking about Secret Passage again?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, last turn I probably would have just ripped Shadow Jeweler, Hanar, and Swindle and just said, I don't need these secrets. I have a Secret Passage.
Right.
Like, Shadow Jeweler, Hanar is sometimes good, but you need the mana, especially against Demon Hunter. Unless you're finding, like, Ice Barrier or Misdirection, like, exactly, it doesn't do that much. Because at a certain point, Demon Hunter's going to ignore your board, and most secrets are focused on having a board. So,
oh, jeez. Sociologist Militia, when there's 0 soul fragments, not useful right here. But yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. Rogue's a tempo deck. It's a tempo class. There's actually so few archetypes in the history of Hearthstone that Rogue hasn't really utilize tempo tools as their primary game plan. Maybe they have some combo finishers, but they still need to fight for tempo early game. That's kind of an early lesson that we've learned. And Glory passed one of the more critical turns in the Rogue arsenal. Turn 4 is really pivotal to set up for really important turns moving forward. Glory on a draw to win. Okay, now you can actually convince me that Secret Passage might be correct. But I still think that this Shadow Jeweler Hanar play is better.
yeah, but again, there's a certain there's only a certain length you can go with Shadow Jeweler Hanar secrets. It's not advancing Glory's game plan of trying to push aggressively, right? It's trying to disrupt bloodyface, which I guess in some senses is the same thing. But with that much, I would have played much more aggressively. But I mean, double Blade Lady, no way to get this attack. No soul fragments with Soul Shard Lapidary and Sociologist in hand. No way to outcast the skull. This. Unfortunately, I feel like bloodyface was destined to lose this game, which is a tough thing to say. But this is an awkward. Very awkward pan out for bloodyface.
Yeah, and we know that the Eviscerate's in hand. We know about Counterspell and Dirty Tricks to disrupt and also draw additional cards. This is looking extremely unlikely for bloodyface to pull herself out of this one.
My blades are just
Blade Lady trade. Desperate times calls for desperate measures.
That's going to be
That's
it.
going to do it. Glory is going to be able to eviscerate his way to a victory, barring any kind of catastrophic misclicks. And that'll be a 3-1 series as Japan keeps their hopes alive. And Glory gets a crucial victory to keep playing onto Championship Sunday. For bloodyface, she did great last year, her 3rd World Championship appearance in a row. Last time ending in 2nd place, but this time looks like she's going to be eliminated in group stages as Glory will advance to play in the decider match tomorrow for Group A.
Yeah, I mean, you still have to commend bloodyface, right? As you mentioned, 3 World Championships in a row. Still maybe a little bit shaky towards the end of Season 2 of Grandmasters, but again, not much to play for. She was protected from relegation, already qualified for Worlds, and when she was playing in Season 1, it was total domination, right? So a fantastic showing, just wasn't in the cards today. And a big one for Glory because not only does he take the win? But APAC wasn't looking so hot up until this point, right?
True.
they I don't think they'd even won a game going into this elimination match. So now at least Glory putting him on the board, giving himself a chance against Shouty tomorrow to join Yarla as the representatives from Group A. And more commiserations to us, Dan, because we've just been getting it all wrong.
Very much so.